Hello, welcome to Binding Bites. Hello, welcome to the typeset toolbox. Today we will be working on a typeset for a small bind called a sextodecimo. If you want to follow along, you will find a link in the About section for a folder with all of the assets you need to get started with us. You can go ahead and download that and unzip the file. You may also be loosely following along and working on a different size typeset. That's completely fine. Either way, the tools you'll be using are the same. The only difference will likely be the page sizing, which fonts you might choose, and the images that you will be working on within your typeset. All right, let's go ahead and get started by opening up Affinity Publisher 2. Upon opening the program, the new document prompt window appears by default. If it does not appear for you, it's likely at some point you have unchecked Show on Startup. It's really easy to get back. Just go to File, New, and it will reappear for you. So from here, you can customize pretty much everything you need for any size document you want. Today we are working on a sextodecimo size document. For letter, this will be 2.125 inches in width and 2.75 inches in height. However, if you are working in A4 size documents, you're going to want 52.5 millimeters. And if you notice here, my document units are still in inches, and this is still in inches. It doesn't matter if you are using a different measurement system. If you just hit tab, it will auto convert to the measurement system of your document. So you can type in basically anything you need. So let's just switch to millimeters for a few minutes and move here and go to 74.25. Now this is the sizing for an A4. It doesn't matter whether or not you're using letter or A4. You're going to want to keep your DPI at least 300 if you're planning to print it. If you're not planning to print your document, 96 is fine. It'll give you a smaller file size and everything. But for print documents, you're going to want at least 300, especially if it has images. From here, choose your image placement. I prefer linked. So the difference is with linked, your images are going to live. All of their information is going to live on your computer. So they are just linked to your document. If they are embedded, your document will be much larger, especially if you have more photos, and it might even run and lag and have issues if you have a lot of photos from sheer size. So if you're going to have like a lot of photos, you probably want to do linked, but what happens with embedded is all of that image information is within your document. So because it is housed within your document, you can delete those images off your computer. I'm going to switch this back to my preference and go over here to pages. We're going to want facing pages because you want your bind to open up and have two pages beside each other. So doing that just allows you to see it visually on your document. Whereas if you have this unchecked, each page will just appear single format, and that's it. You can change the arrangement if you want. This would be more of a flip book, but that could be really interesting. And horizontally is just pretty standard for whenever you're making a fan bind. And if you ever get confused about starting left or right, you're going to want to start it on the right. If you think about it, when you open a traditionally published book, it starts on the right, and then when you open it, you have two pages, a left and a right. And that's how you can kind of remember which side you're starting on. So the number of pages, I'm just going to leave it at 13. You can add and change your pages later. So in color, I'm going to leave it at CMYK8. You can print any of these colors, even though the RGB is formatted for screens. So what's going to happen if you have RGB is your colors may not appear the same in the document as they print out. They won't either way be perfectly matching, but CMYK gets you closer to that color match whenever you're printing. Margins for A4 size, I'd recommend 6.4 millimeters for all but the outer. I trim off just a few millimeters on the outer, not a whole lot. If you don't trim, you might want to just change this so that they're all the same. but I am going to trim like just a hair off the edge to make them even, because the binds are so small and so short. I don't really want a deckled edge with that. For letter size, we'll just convert it back to inches, and that would be 0.25 inches around, except for the outer, which is 0.3. You can come over here to bleed. This is going to be something more for a document you are professionally printing. It'll give you a line around here that allows you to pull your image or background, whatever you're doing borderless, out, versus like expanding it and potentially losing some of the stuff you have on the inside that you don't want lost. I'm gonna leave it at 0 because most home printers don't read bleeds anyways, but you can do whatever you need to do for yourself. So we just hit create, and this, as you can see, just opens up our document, and we can just go ahead and get started. So I like to set up and have my information like in the pasteboard area. That's what this area out here is called. It's called a pasteboard. It's where anything on this, especially within these margins, will print. If it's outside in the pasteboard, it's not going to show up in your exported document. So I like to go ahead and label my pages so that I can tell at a glance what they're supposed to be. And I just, like I said, leave that in the pasteboard area. And then we're going to come down, and you can copy by holding Alt, and that will allow you to copy pretty much indefinitely. You'll just pull it out. If you hold Shift, it will stay in the same line. So if you hold Shift when you're moving something, you can hold Alt Shift as well and copy it and move it. It will stay in a straight line or a 45-degree angle from the original positioning it was in. So here we're actually going to change this to plain title page. And then we're going to just copy both of these. And you can select them both by holding down Shift. And this is going to be image title page. I'm going to change this one to colophan info. Here we're going to do dedication, /quote. And over here we're going back to intentionally blank. And then here, usually this next set of pages would be a table of contents. However, since we are doing such a very small bind, it doesn't have chapters. So we're going to go ahead and go with chapter start. And from here on out, it will just be the pages within the document. Let's go ahead and get up here to the plain title page. So I'm gonna pull out my artistic text tool. You can do this by hitting T as well. And there are a few different tools for text, and they all have a different purpose, so just keep that in mind. I'm gonna go ahead and just type in the title of this fic, and I'm gonna change the typeface to the Logger font. Yes, I like that. Now, artistic text tool, the great thing about this is how easy it is to resize. You're only going to really want to use this for display type. It will do weird things if you are trying to use the artistic text for things that auto-generate information, like the table of contents or the folio. You're really going to want to use a text frame box for those. So we're just going to, I'm looking, and this looks a little wide to me. So I'm going to go ahead and come in here to the spacing. Well, not this spacing, this spacing. And I'm just going to kern it a bit here. And we're going to just put it right before the space that you're wanting to kern. And I think I'm happy with that. So let's go ahead and do this one to the same degree. And I'll just resize right here. And that looks more normal. So you'll see me go in and out of preview a lot. I have a shortcut set up for it. If you don't have that, you just hit this windshield wiper button here, and it hides the pasteboard and any margins, guides, grids that you may have put up. And then here, I'm just going to copy this and type in by Sherlock Smith. and then make this much smaller. And again, I'm not a fan of how wide that is, so I'm just going to go ahead and type in -190, and that gets me to where I want to be. And if you're an artistic text tool, if you don't click the corners, you're going to have to hold down Control or Command to resize it proportionally. I think it's Control, Command, Shift. Now that I'm thinking about it. Yep, it is. My fingers know better. My muscle memory knows better than my brain sometimes. Alright, I am pretty happy with that. So I'm just going to go ahead and come down here. And we are going to pull up our text frame tool, where it's right there. And you're just going to make a box. From here, we can come over to our folder, go to Assets, and you'll see I have colophan info already ready for you. And you just come in here and you can change it. I'm gonna go to gear amount because that's what I plan to use for the document. And then I do think I want regular. And then for the sizing, we're gonna go smaller because it doesn't need to be large. So we're gonna do 9. We're gonna go ahead and center it. And I think I want to go ahead and change this actually to medium, bold, or bold. Probably semi-bold. All right, so I'm gonna double click right here and it's gonna snap it down. And I'm gonna come over here to the eyedropper tool and I'm gonna change it to the style picker tool. So for the style picker tool, this will help you just pick a style for text and then you can just highlight what you want to change. I think bolding this will just give it a little bit of more legibility at a glance, and you can find what information you're looking for a little bit easier. All right, go ahead and ignore this for a second because I just realized that I had not put in a QR code here and I meant to. So we're gonna come over here to your shapes. Yours probably looks like this currently. You're just gonna click it on the little triangle and then come down here to QR code tool. From here, you're just going to draw out your QR code. I think it's the fill that we want. There we go. So with this, we're going to go ahead and all you have to do is copy the URL you are wanting back here, and we're just going to go ahead and paste it in and click OK. So when you look here, it'll also appear here, and this is the QR code for this page. We can go ahead and resize it. Again, you're going to want to hold Shift, otherwise you're going to end up distorting it, but that will put us in good shape. So for the image title page, we're going to go into the Finder menu again. We're going to go here to Graphics, and I have it already labeled as title page, and there are a few things you can actually do here. So you can just drag and drop this, and then you can resize. You're going to want to be careful on how you resize it because you don't want to distort it like I just did. So you're gonna have to hold Control or Command Shift in order to do that. Now you can also come over here and grab a text frame, and let's move this out of the way for now. And you can drag and drop it into a text frame. Now with this, the only thing is you have to be careful because you could cut off part of the image, and depending on what you're doing, you may not have the leeway to be able to crop an image. However, it will keep your image in its entirety. It might just be chopped off somewhere. So I'm going to leave it like this, instead of using the text box tool, the photo frame tool. I'm gonna leave it like this and just pull it over so that it will definitely print. The one thing you really want to pay attention to, if you have an artist signature on the side, it's likely that you're going to want to not have it too close here. I'm not super worried about it because of how small the bind is. We're not going to get like a lot of swelling, and we're not going to have to do any rounding. However, that is something you might be concerned about if you are needing to round in a larger bind. So from here, pretty happy with that image placement now. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the artistic text tool again. And I'm just gonna pull it up, and you see it remembered the font I'd used previously. So I'm just gonna type in I am Groot. And again, I'm gonna go ahead and fix these to -190 for just the spacing. And then I'm going to turn this on its side. Again, if you hold Shift, it will give you more standardized motion, I guess, and it'll get you to a straight line side without having to fuss with it too much. So I'm gonna leave this butted up against the margin edge, and I'm gonna make that just a little bit bigger. I'm not gonna go over that thumb because I don't want to. And from here, I'm just gonna go to color, and I'm gonna pick out a color from here because I want it to let's see, because I want it to match. I felt like it looked too stark against this right here. So I'm just gonna use this color picker and pull this over and get a lighter brown. I kind of like that. You can also switch this and just take off the outline completely. You don't have to leave that stroke there. I'm just deciding on how I want it to look right now. I'm kind of happy with that. Let's go ahead and see if I can find a lighter brown that it just looks too warm in comparison to the photo. So I'm gonna be a little bit picky here. I'm sorry, please bear with me. All right. It may not have changed much, but I'm happier with it. Maybe even this dark black. Maybe that's what I need to change because it just looks off to me. So I'm gonna pull this fill up to the front, and I'm going to choose the darker color here. Nope, that did not get me what I wanted. Let's go ahead and see if there's a darker. That also did not get me what I wanted. So we might just leave it here. It matches the butterfly at least. So I'm gonna move this over, and I'm just gonna type in by Sherlock Smith, and then I'm gonna resize it. Oop, I forgot the Y. I thought I did. And then I'm going to go ahead and just make this a little bit smaller. I'm gonna change this to -190. I'm gonna bring this right over here and make it, make it a little bit larger. So because of how small this is in comparison to this, we're probably going to lose a lot of this detailing. I'm gonna lower the stroke a little too, to just 0.1. Oh, I gotta do it for the whole thing. So from here, this will probably get lost once it's printed, but that is okay. I'm just gonna align it slightly closer to this because even though it was butted up against here, that B just landed closer to where the top of that lands, and this looks a little bit more to size for me. So I'm pretty happy with that placement. This is a little smaller than I would love it to be, but we are working with the image that we have. So from here, let's go ahead and scroll down to the next page, which is the dedication/quote page. We're gonna just hop back into the story. I'm gonna copy this, and we can come over here and get the text frame tool. And we're going to go ahead and just paste that in. And again, I want to go ahead and change to Garamond. You'll notice the text frame does not remember the font that you had previously. I'm going to change this to 10. We're going to center it. I'm going to go with light. Whoops. Light. I'm going to just put in a couple of soft returns so that it breaks a little bit more appealingly to me. And I actually think I'm going to come in here and go to light italic. And I'm gonna go ahead and put in quotation marks. And I'm gonna snap that up to the bottom, position it a little bit beyond halfway, and type in an M dash, which is just dash dash, hyphen hyphen, and most documents will convert it to the M dash. Sherlock's myth, and we're going to change this to 8 and light. We're just going to hold shift and move that up. I think I am happy with that. And now we're gonna go down to the next page. This should be the chapter start. Like I said before, if I was using a chaptered fanfic, I would be using a table of contents. However, because this is just a one-shot, no table of contents needed. So here, we're just going to go ahead and pull up our text frame tool once more. And we're gonna make the text frame, and we're gonna go over here to your Finder or your folder, go to Assets, and you're just gonna drag and drop the fanfic. From here, you're gonna highlight all of it, and we're going to do our very first paragraph style. So you've seen me use this little menu up here. You can also use the menu over here and here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this, which is also this, and we're just going to scroll right on up, and we're going to go to the Garamond. So it's really important whenever you're doing this that you are selecting the overall typeface and not a specific one here, because what's going to happen is if you select here, one of these smaller ones, it's going to change any formatting that you have throughout the document, and we want to keep our author's formatting. So I'm just going to click the overall typeface, and then we're going to come over here to paragraph, and you'll see here these are spaces after the paragraph. We want to change both of those to 0, before and after the paragraphs, sorry. The alignment I want to be left justified, and the indent is going to be 0.125 inches. From here, we are going to go ahead and just keep it highlighted, and we can come to text styles, and you can click this plus paragraph symbol button, and this will give you the option to create and even customize your paragraph style as well. So we are in drop caps actually. So let's go up here to the top. And we're not going to change anything because I changed everything I needed to in this menu. And you can just name your style. So if I was creating a new style, body, this is what I'd name it. However, and you just click OK, but however, I'm going to get a pop-up saying I can't name it that because there's already something else named that. So the other option you have is if you don't want to change the name, or if you haven't deleted all of these, you're going to just come over here and update it to take these formats into that. So now this style is updated to be what we have put together. All right, from here, we're going to go ahead and do a drop cap. So I'm going to highlight this first letter, and I'm actually going to change the font to the Logger font once more. We're going to go to the spacing, and we're going to go ahead and just change that to 0. Traditionally, you don't put spacing here. You can if you really want to. It is your document. You get to do what you want. So here you can enable your drop caps. I'm going to change this down to 1 line. Typically, I would like 3 or 4 or even 6, but because this is such a small bind, we don't want to use that. And I am just realizing that we never changed the font size. So let's go over here real quick, back to text styles, and we're going to change this to 10.25. And now we're going to update body to reflect that. Whoops, let's go here and just update body to this. So let's come back up to here and finish this. I am so sorry for having to interrupt us. We're gonna come over here to the back to the paragraph menu, and we're gonna come back down here to drop caps, and we're going to want the distance to text to be a little bit wider. So I like this, but this spacing here is a little wide. So I'm gonna go ahead and just make this a little wider than I typically would too. I think it balances it a little bit more. Let's see. Not quite that wide. So I'm pretty happy with that. But I want to go ahead and pull the same colors that I'm using here. So I'm just going to copy that and I'm going to paste it. And we're going to go ahead and use the style picker tool. It is already trying to assign a style. You're going to want to hold Alt to get the new style. You'll see that it changes the direction. Once that tip is filled with the little black, that means there's a style already selected. So it's actually remembering what we selected earlier. So I want to change that. So you want to just hold Alt and you will get the picker back. And you have to hold it as you click it. And then once you've clicked it, you can let go of Alt, and that's when you pull this. So I'm pretty happy with how that's looking. And we're just going to go ahead and give us that back. So from here, we're going to go ahead and just highlight this, and we're going to come over to text styles, and this plus with the small a, that is for a character style. And we're just going to put in drop kitty and click OK because I have it already set up here. And then from here, we're just going to go ahead and go to create a paragraph style and drop cap. Should be fine. I don't see it over here. And then we're going to come down here to drop caps, and the style, we're changing it to drop kitty, and this will change the first letter to that style, that character style that you assigned. I leave auto checked. Some people remove it, but if you have auto checked, if there is a quotation, it'll automatically put the drop cap on 2 characters instead of 1, and I like that. So this is just how I'm going to leave it. And depending on the font I use, I might need to scale for descenders. For this specific font, I don't need to do that. So just click OK, and from here, we can go ahead and select the drop cap style. So now we have that style. All right, so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking a few things. First of all, where are my page numbers, right? So I'm just going to move this down, and we're going to go to the master pages. Once you are here, you should be aware that the master pages, if you're not familiar with them, they are for standing elements that you want on every page or most pages, or a good chunk of pages, especially a larger document. And you can always create more masters, and you can use different masters. You can clear masters. It's very versatile. So from here, we're going to pull up our text frame tool. Now this is very important. You want to use your text frame tool whenever you're putting in a page number. If you use artistic text, it's not going to work correctly. So you really want to use this tool instead. So we're going to right click, go to insert field, page number. We want to go ahead and select the Naluka typeface, and I'm going to do size 8. And from here, I'm just going to snap this up to that. I'm going to copy and pull this over, change the alignment so it falls onto the outside of the spread. From here, I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to change this to Sherlock's Myth and center it, and just slide that right back up there. I'm going to do the same thing here as well, only I'm going to type in I am Groot, center, and now I'm going to pull it up. So I'm pretty pleased with this. The one thing I want to do is I want to change the margin here to let the text fall a little bit lower. So let's go to File, Document Setup, and we're just going to come here to Margins. And for the top margin, we're going to change this to 0.425 maybe. It doesn't preview, unfortunately, so you're just gonna have to click OK. I think I'm happy with that. So we're gonna come back to this first page and just pull this up here. So I'm thinking about this first page, right? And we're gonna fix the page numbers in a minute, just give it a second. I'm gonna go ahead and just go back to the graphics folder and pull this chapter start image and put it here. I think I'm gonna go ahead and bring it all the way up to the top. Yeah. So from here, you're looking at this and probably thinking, well, I don't want page numbers on these pages, right? We want page numbers on just these, and we want it to start at 1. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go ahead and highlight these and just right click, clear masters. That will remove that master from these pages. And we're gonna go ahead and clear the master here as well. And then here, in order to get the correct page number, you're gonna have to start new section, and you're gonna restart page numbering at 1. So this will get us to 1. I'm deciding right now, do I want this front page to have a page number at all, now that I'm thinking about it? And I'm wondering, maybe not. Maybe I'll just start it up here. So I can actually come here and clear the master for this. And that could be where it starts. So from here, I'm thinking about this scene break. And I really want to use, I think, one of these butterflies. It'll look nice. So I think I'm just going to trace that out really quick. And you can do that by grabbing your pen tool. And you can just drag and pull. And it doesn't have to be exact. I just want it to look similar enough that people understand what we are going for. And then I'm going to end it here. All right, so I have the general outline, and I actually want to switch this because I want the fill to be here and the outline to be nothing for now. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to layer effects, and I'm going to turn on a gradient overlay. However, once you're looking at this, these are not the colors we want. So I'm actually going to change this dark color to be this dark wing color here. And then we're going to come over here to the light side. And we're going to change this to the bright yellow over here. I'm going to change this to elliptical. You can play with it and choose whatever you prefer. This is where I want to be, and I don't need to mess with any of that for now. You can also change the blend mode. Again, this is just something you're gonna have to play with and decide if you ever need to use that. But for now, I'm happy with this, and I'm actually going to go ahead and Command J, Control J, and that will duplicate this layer. So you have a few different ways of copying, right? You can Control J, you can hold Alt and pull, you can copy and paste. These are all valid options. So I'm gonna select the top one here. I'm gonna switch this, and then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go to layer effects, and I'm gonna turn off the gradient overlay. And I want this stroke to be a different color. So I'm gonna bring the stroke forward, and I'm gonna choose this dark brown. And that might be a little too dark. Let's go with, yeah, that's gonna be too dark. So I'm just gonna go over here and grab the eyedropper tool once more and pull that one back. Now this outline is way too thick for this dainty bit, so I'm just gonna change this to 0.1. So from here, I'm gonna go ahead and pull my pen tool back up, and the fill and the stroke are remembering the last shape I just did, which was the second piece of this that I just used put the stroke onto. So it's remembering that. So from here, and I'm just gonna give it a body. So this is gonna be the head, and we're gonna just flip it. From here, I'm going to pull up the pen tool again. But I'm going to change this back just so that it's only the stroke. And I'm going to make the little antenna. And I'm going to make this one a little bit taller, just to make it a little bit more interesting. Okay, let's try this one more time. Okay, here we go. Now, let's go ahead and pull this over here. Maybe make it a little bit bigger by holding Control-Shift. And I think I am happy with this. We're just gonna go ahead and group these, and we're just gonna call it butterfly or scene break butterfly. So I'm just gonna go ahead and copy this so I have it available. I can just paste it in, and from here I want you to look at this, because if you're not careful, when you hit Shift here, it's going to go ahead and autofill, and it'll bring that text frame all the way to the top, and we're not wanting that. We want to come in here and go ahead and just select it, and you're going to draw the next text box, and then from here hold Shift and click this, and it'll automate everything for you. So this is something that I'm not sure why it's doing. The file document I've changed several times to like pull this off of here, but I'm not sure why. It just keeps leaving it there and converting it back. So I'm just going to go ahead and erase the numbers from this section that doesn't need numbers. There is a section in here that has numbers, and it's just trying to pull that formatting. So if you are working with a fic that has a numbered list, pay attention, because these programs are not perfect and they will do weird things sometimes. So I'm just fixing these, and this is the list, so you can see it just duplicated that for some reason. So we're just going to go ahead and replace this with a tab. Alright, everything else should have came formatted correctly over, and we're just going to go ahead and come back up to the second page, and we're going to look and decide if we need to add anything, if there's another scene break. So I really actually like how this falls here, but I don't love that it's not aligned here. We have a few options to fix this right here. The first would be kerning this in or out so that it goes down to the next line. However, this is giving way too much spacing, so let's just bring this back down to 0. And we're going to, instead of that, I'm going to just erase this spacing we have here, and I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to erase the spacing here, and I also don't love how far apart these are, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to, leave it as in paragraph, and we're going to go down to tab stops, and I'm going to change the spacing. Okay, that's the front spacing. There's the spacing. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. I think I'm going to change this to the same, whoops, nope. Oh, okay, there's also spacing up here. Well, I guess the author put it in like that, I'll leave it. But this changed again, didn't it? Yep. Let's just go ahead and put that right back where it was. Okay. And because we have more space at the bottom, I'm just going to nudge this down a little bit. It's not going to be something that you really notice from page to page, but it does make my brain happier. So I'm going to leave it like this. And then we're going to go ahead and keep going, looking for the next scene break. And we're going to just paste in our little butterfly. From here, like I said before, you can just come in here and it will automatically do both of those. We put on the drop cap. Yeah, I want those quotes to be like that. So now we are on to the next section. Uh-oh. Here we have a little widow, and I want to fix her. I'm going to use the short keys to kern in here, and that is holding Alt or Option and using the left and right arrow keys to either thin or widen the kerning. Okay, so that's better. We can come over here and just see it's -20, and we can maybe do -15 instead. -10 is too little, -15 works. And we're just gonna move this back to the top. And this is a little bit differently formatted. So I'm gonna go ahead and just bring this to the beginning, and I'm gonna change the spacing up here to be the same as this, because what this is if you look in the document, it's like a quote kind of. So I'm just gonna fix this 0.236, and that will just even that out. I'm gonna pull off this spacing behind here though, because we don't need it. And I'm going to go ahead and grab the pen tool. This color is fine. And I'm gonna hold Shift, and that will give me a straight line. Even if I click here and I hold Shift and click here, it'll still give you a straight line. So let's go over to stroke, and I'm gonna change this to get kind of wide. This one, 10 might be too much, maybe 9. And then I'm gonna change the cap to end at the edge. And this one also looks like it might, but it ends a little bit above. So you'll have to play with that in the future as well. And I'm just gonna hold Shift and move it over a bit. And I'm pretty happy with that positioning. Only I don't love that it doesn't line up perfectly here. So I'm actually gonna nudge this text box so that it lines up perfectly. And I'm just gonna copy this, and I'm gonna paste it here. And you see it automatically pastes where it was on the previous page. And I'm gonna do the same thing with this one and this one. I'm gonna nudge them down, and I'm just gonna copy this right over onto this page. Now we can select both and copy both. Oh, we don't need to. We are at the end here. So I'm gonna put this in, and we're gonna have a scene break there, or maybe not a scene break. So I'm gonna take this, and I'm just gonna copy the one, and I'm gonna go ahead and paste it, and just resize and put it right over here. Nudge that down. This is supposed to be centered. We're gonna go ahead and take off the indent. And I think I'm just gonna add that butterfly. Oops, I forgot that I don't have the butterfly anymore. Let's go ahead and come here and copy that again. Come back to here, and if you hit Command 0 or Control 0, it will bring you back into this viewpoint. I'm just gonna paste this in. And, well, no, I'm gonna leave it this size. So, for this size of a document, for our sextodecimo bind, you're gonna want a minimum of 32 pages, and this says 21 and 23, but you have to keep in mind we have that colophan up front, and this takes up pages. So, you come back down here, and you look over here, it will tell you how many pages you have, which is actually 20. This is page 28 and 29. So we need a 31 and 32, right? From here, I'm actually going to go ahead and enter a page earlier on. Let's figure out where we want to put it. Probably somewhere in the middle-ish. Maybe right here. You can insert a page. We're going to click the Add Page button. We're going to insert one page before page 18, which is also page 10, and we're going to click OK. And it didn't quite do that, so I had to switch it. And then we can come down here, and you'll see everything moves the way it needs to, except for these guys. You just have to fix these now. And again, if you hold Shift, you will be able to move those in a straight line. So this will get us to page 29, and then we don't actually need to have these last pages filled. They can just be the back of this page and then the flyleaf. So we're just going to clear the masters here, and this should put us in really good shape, except for add a text frame, clear the master here, and then we're just going to drag and drop this image. We're going to just position it where we want it to be. And see, I've accidentally pulled the master off of this one. So I'm going to actually pull this and drop it onto this page specifically. You have to be careful because you see that highlights both. I just want it on this page. And that will get that back for us. So this puts us in pretty good shape. I think that I'm pretty happy with where we are at. The only thing we have left to do now is going to File, Export. And we're going to want to export for print. And we're going to keep that DPI at 300. Instead of the area being all spreads, we're going to change it to all pages. The difference is if you export it in spreads, it's going to, whenever you go in to reposition these pages for the signature, it's going to move them in spreads instead of single pages. So all pages, and all of this should stay fine. The defaults should just work fine for you, but you can play with them and change them as you need. And we're going to just go ahead and click export, and I'm going to export it right into here, into my I Am Groot folder. And I'm going to type it in the title, I Am Groot, and then the byline, Sherlock's Myth, and click save. So from here, we can open up Safari again, and we can go ahead and Google our book binder.js and just open this up. We're going to choose the file, and then we're going to take this document and we're going to upload it. I like to do the aggregated file only. If you're going to do a large file and you want to print the signatures, you may prefer to do the signatures. For me, I'm going to leave it at letter size because that's the size that I designed in. And then we come to duplex because my printer auto duplexes. If it doesn't, the only difference for single-sided is it's going to give you the odds and evens separately. So you don't have to check that in your printing. Now this is already selected, but whenever you come in here, usually it will have this selected instead. You'll just have to come in here from folio and change it to hexadecimal. And then we want to keep it proportional because we designed it at the correct sizing. Paging is centered, and we're not going to add any extra margins or anything. I like to have the cut lines for this size because I don't want to have to draw them out myself. But you can change that if you want. And the standard signature link, because you're doing this type of sizing, you only are going to put the one here. I build my flyleafs in. Those were those intentionally blank pages at the beginning and the end. So this stays at 0 for me. And I can just go ahead and generate the output. These are the cut lines I was talking about. You could also just measure it. You're going to get 4 by 4 evenly. And that should be it. So I'm going to open my downloads. And we're going to go ahead and take this and drag and drop it into my I Am Groot folder. I did not mean to put it in the graphics. We're just going to put it here. And I'm going to double click. If you're in a Windows, you're going to have to right click and extract, but for Mac, you just double click on the zip and it will unzip it for you. So I'm going to delete the zip folder because I don't need that anymore, and I'm just going to move this over here and delete this folder entirely and change this to like that. Now we have our document and we can just print as needed. This will only be 2 pages, and yes, that is correct. 4 by 4 is 16, so 16 plus 16 is 32. That is how you get that number 32. If you are going to do a larger one, which it'll be easier to bind in my opinion if you do a slightly larger one, I would say 1 signature is the smallest you can go, obviously, but if you want to do like 2 or 3 or 4 signatures, it will be a little bit easier to work with, in my opinion. But this is where we are at, and all we have to do is print this out. Flip on short edge when you print. Most printers, you're going to be flipping on the short edge. If you flip on the long edge, that could cause it to print upside down on one side. And once you have everything cut out, believe me, you will know if you printed it the wrong way. Otherwise, this is it. I hope this was helpful. I hope you can use these tools, and I hope you have a great day.